Lives.
Hello,
Can
hello.
stream.
And we're live. Amazing. All right. So we're still completely alone, which is normal to be expected, but that's all right. So today we're going to be running a little bit of, short tutorials. We're not going to be spending like a long time in today's live. Maybe 1 hour is going to be more than enough. That is going to be great. But I know that Franco is working with something very amazing, which is Chaos Cloth. And I'm really not connected to anything chaos-wise. Like the last thing I knew was that in 426, there was like this particular Unreal Engine build that worked with chaos. Since then, I don't know. I know that now it's integrated with Unreal Engine 5, and that's it. So from there on, I know that you also have worked in the past with chaos destruction. Ain't it right?
Yeah. Yeah, the structure in chaos is really good. Actually, pretty simple to set up. Like things like a character punching a wall or something like that. It's easy to set up. It's a matter of fractures and then fields. And fields can be procced in blueprints or in logic, or you can let it ride on tick. And then as the character is smashing that explosion, if you attach the field to the hand, then that hand, as it's traveling, is ticking the explosion on the hand. And then when it
Right.
reaches the fracture, it feels like it's fracturing.
Because I remember that the older version of destruction, I can't remember the name of it because they actually removed the plugin. There is no way of having it back, as far as I know. The old way of destructing Apex, that was the Apex. That was the name,
Oh,
Apex
Apex.
Destruction.
That's
That
an
one
old
used
thingy.
to work with damage. Like you can assign like amount of damage. So, and that was like an internal calculation. You wouldn't never know. Oh, we have someone here. Oh, Brad,
Yeah,
how are you?
Brad.
Hey, long time. How is it going? Yeah, we're gonna be learning today for sure. Nothing that you don't know, of course. All right. So, um, let me know when you're ready to share,
Yes.
and you can actually take us
Let's
to the
see if
world
it
of
works.
chaos.
All
And I
right.
think we
Also
need to
share
do
system
something
audio.
like this and like
Mm,
that. Now you're full screen.
Go live.
That is perfect. All right.
Okay, I'm gonna wait and see what I can see in the. Oh, it's my
All right.
Unreal. All right. So here we are. A couple of days ago, I decided, well, a couple of weeks ago, I should say, I decided to delve into what is cloth for Unreal Engine 5 right now and the two methods that the engine offers us. And in the pursuit of changing metahumans' bodies, but doing it the correct way. I have the rigged Kid Bashi way here in the middle. I'll show the correct way at the end, pretty much. When you have something that doesn't belong to a metahuman that needs to be reskinned, right? So I started delving into that. Obviously, to skin things, we need to go into Blender. So I went into Blender. I learned how to transfer weights and bring them back into Unreal, and it worked. So I made this little menu here, or this little demonstration demo level, where I showcase at least the 4 different ways I found for
Mm-hmm.
free, because Meta Tailor and there's Marvelous Designer, which is great and all that, but they are not free. And this is
Oh,
everything is done in
what about
engine.
Flow? Flow is the same as
Oh,
Marvelous Designer? Are the same thing?
which, which one?
Flow? FLO?
Flow?
No, I mean CLO, Clo.
I'm so confused.
Clo is Clo is a software, a program that you use to create digital fashion, and is the
Cloud
one
3D?
that is right now connected with MetaHuman somehow. So I'm asking if Clo has something to do with Marvelous Designer. They are the same thing, or there are competitors.
Oh, you're talking about Claw 3D, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't seen this. I've seen it mentioned in a couple of tutorials. I'm looking at the webpage right now,
Right.
and 14-day trial, and then you need to go up to 25 a month.
That is marvelous.
And no, this is Claw 3D.
So Claw.
So it's not free.
No, it's not. I think if you went through somehow UEFN wise, like you would get like some sort of plan for you, or it was like a couple of months free, if I remember correctly. But yeah, but Marvelous Designer is like a complete separate thing, right? But it does kind of the same. It is to
Claw
create.
is Marvelous Designer, Brad is saying here.
Oh, so it's the same. So I'm not.
It's like an integration.
It's so confusing. The fact that they actually use like different names for the software than the company. So Marvelous Designer created Claw 3D, and it to create like actually, 3D clothing. All right. So you're using it to create this.
No.
This... All right.
No. I didn't use anything. The cloth we are seeing right now, this is from an asset pack called ROG Modular Armor. And these are the 4 ways that I figured how I would be able to change a metahuman body. So
get it. So what you did was actually retarget the weights from the Unreal Engine skeleton to the metahuman.
Not on this one. Because there's no need for that. Because this one, the cloth here, right here, as we can see, if we go into the skelly mesh of this has the metahuman skeleton already.
I get it. All right.
So
is that a metahuman or the mannequin?
Either or, they are the same thing in this case, at least.
All right.
If we go into simulation, well, not in simulation.
And it has the hands and the head of a metahuman.
So currently this blueprint right now, what it has is the body of the metahuman, the hands and feet, it has the boots, it has the shins. I didn't change much. Right. The only thing I did was adding the skeletal mesh for the robe and the skeletal mesh for the hood. Now, obviously, the process on this one, since it's super easy and straightforward, let's go ahead and take a look at the actual blueprint in here. So we can see its components. First thing you need to do is sometimes these just start screaming because if you're gonna change the body for something else or the body's no longer there, this blueprint is gonna fail. Easy disconnect and we're done.
Right.
And then in viewport, the only thing I did in here was essentially adding a new skeletal mesh for the robe. Right. And that's all I did. And then a skeletal mesh for the hood. Now, none of these are attached. None of these are doing anything other than that. And the only thing you do is in the construction script, you need to tell both the hood and the robe to follow their new master.
The skeleton, right.
Yeah, which is the body. Now, since they are the same skeleton, there's no skinning need to be done, nothing like that. And that means that when I run a sequencer, this character is now moving correctly. We're not seeing simulation right now because we're not simulating, but if we were to simulate, simulations are following the weight of the, not the weight of the metahuman, obviously, or the colliders, I should say, of the metahuman. They are following their own sims, but since they were created correctly, obviously, for the money from Unreal Engine 5, the colliders work correctly. Nothing that we can't just go in and fix if we need to. But the cool thing about this is that since they are UE5 skeletons, that means that at any point in time, with this one, I can simply go for a control rig, layered, and human control rig in the body.
Right.
And that means that this guy is 100% dynamic. And the control rig itself is effectively working with the cloth we added because it is the same skeleton.
Right.
And because
it is using you're using the rig that is on the metahuman, and because the rig of the metahuman skeleton is moving the skeleton of the robes, that's why they react exact same.
100%, yes.
And so they are based on the same, base skeleton, just
structure,
that there are 2 separate skeletons in the blueprint of the metahuman that you have there.
Exactly. So essentially, this is the best case scenario. We have a cloth or a body structure that follows UE5's nomenclature and skeleton, and that makes it super easy for us to just send into the blueprint, set leader pose component. The skelly is compatible, If we want to use the control rig directly, I think we need to go ahead and make the skeleton compatible. Sometimes it just doesn't work from the get-go. So
Right.
simply go into the actual cloth and make the skeleton that it contains. So in this case, it's this, which is a Queenie. You can clearly see it's a Queenie. It's a
Yeah.
simplified version. But we need to sometimes go into Window, Asset Details, and make sure that, oh, this one, in this case, it's not. Okay, it's working from the get-go. Sometimes this just bugs out. So incompatible skeletons, simply add our Metahuman.
The Metahuman one.
And that's going to make our life easier. Everything is going to work from the get-go. There's no need to do any retargeting, and the control rig works like a charm.
Right.
So best case scenario, LOD sync components, you may need or may want to add the robe and the hood. Sometimes if we don't add them, the simulation from a distance is going to pop.
Talking about that,
Yes.
what would happen? Would you dare having a copy of it and converting that to nanite? Because with nanite, you're not needing LODs anymore. What would
You
happen?
could do that too, yes. We could test that out right now if you want.
What if it
See what happens.
explodes? I don't want to damage your test bed there.
It's fine.
You know, nanite is allegedly completely reversible, but it would
Let's
be.
try it with a
I'm
copy.
just curious what is going to happen.
Nana. So this one is a copy, the exact same thing. Let's go into the scaly mesh.
I think you
Asset
right click
details.
on the skeletal mesh and you convert it to nanite from there. Oh, you can do it from
Yeah,
there.
we'll do that too.
Yeah,
Let's
remember
see
to
what
build
happens
it?
if just
That's it.
from the get-go, we apply nanite.
Oh, exciting.
And what happens now, we bring the nanite version right here and we bring it into sequencer. What happens? What happens? We lost our outline selection for whatever reason for the nanite, so that's a good start already.
Oh my god.
And
it's about to explode.
we don't have animations compatible with it because we didn't go through the compatibility.
Oh yeah.
Let's
Exactly.
actually go through with the compatibility. We can choose Echo, which I know she's in this project. I have more animations. Now, walk forward.
And all right,
Okay.
and simulate it.
It looks okay so far. Let's simulate and see what happens. We lost simulation.
Oh.
From the get-go, we lost simulation.
Yeah, I think that is not ready because if you think about it, remember that nanite has huge issues with.
Simulation is here, so very strange.
No, I mean, I think because nanite doesn't hold any vertex painting, I know for sure that the actual painting that you creating in in the cloth editor, it is a vertex
Yeah.
paint. So that may be the reason why it's not working. Maybe it's something that they need to actually address.
Have the vertices themselves exist, and if they don't because they're nanite, it doesn't work.
Yeah. Now, if you look that through nanite, it's not going to have that topology at all. That thing is going to be
Exactly.
like widely, very wild, tessellated. Like, can you check it there and see if go to
Let's take a
perspective?
look.
Yeah, to lead. No. Oh, so it's not nanite then. There is something wrong there. So go to the nanite view mode and let's see if you can see it there.
Nanite visualization overview is fine.
Yeah, look at
It is
that.
nanite.
It's there, but it's not what I would expect. The ones that I've seen, oh, maybe it's because that time they were using nanite tessellation, and that's why it was like very tiny triangles all around. In this case, it's good. Like you can see that those are huge triangles. So you're not going to have an issue with an LOD, but you lose simulation. Drats.
Apparently, for now, yes.
Drats. That's what I'm going to say.
Yep. All right, we're
Well,
gonna leave it at that.
You cannot win them all.
No, we can't. So as I was saying, the easiest way is if we have the same skeleton, makes our life easier. Let's go to one of the other options that we have here, which is an alternate skeleton. It is a skeleton that is not complying with the Unreal Engine 5 skeleton structure. So for example, Mixamo. Now Mixamo has a one-click control rig by Tunen, which is completely free. A lot of tutorials on that, but it's super simple. We still need to do the set leader pose, but we need to do one new thing, which is attaching the metahuman face to the neck bone. Obviously, we're going to need any retargeting if we want any animation. So in this case, this body here that we can see, if we open it up, we'll see that it doesn't have the Unreal Engine skeleton structure. It's completely different. It doesn't even have a root bone. So all the things that can fail will fail probably.
Dude, that is a
And
Mixamo character?
this is an auto rig from Mixamo.
Oh,
Yes.
all right. I was going to ask you that, like if you have used the auto rigger, because the auto rigger will help you, you know, a lot for a, you know, an external character that you want to bind to something that is more down to what Unreal Engine understand. So Mixamo, right? That's very
Yes. But now when I show you fourth or third, I should say, I will no longer be using the auto rigger from Mixamo if I can help it, because I would rather skin transfer or weight transfer in Blender directly from the UE5 skeleton. So that saves me this hassle here.
Right.
This is for specifically for Mixamo characters. So if we have a body that we like from a Mixamo character, obviously, first point in time, we need to chop the head off the character itself.
Right.
If we go and find this character, the actual character has a helmet. I had to chop it off in the modeling tools.
So people know this way of doing it also remove animation from the neck of the metahuman, because the metahuman is going to be like sticking to the neck bone of the Mixamo character. So you're not going to have like a bending of the neck. So this is especially for characters with an armor to the, you know, that you're just showing like the ears and the jaw of the character.
That you can kind of hide. I did just a haphazard job here. I was just trying to get it done, and that was it. But it works pretty well. And the cool thing about it is that once you've done all that, obviously there is neck animation because the Mixamo character is moving the neck. And since the head is being attached, as long as you don't look pretty close to it, you won't notice the problems. But if you look close, you start seeing some of the problems, right? So you need to be very smart. I would, in this particular character, what I would do is put another thing around the neck, another like piece of armor, or even just work a bit more with this piece of cloth in the armor and punch it in a little closer to the neck. But it's never going to be perfect. So scenario, it's not the worst scenario. Obviously, we won't be able to, so it gets problematic. We could do facial expressions, so audio to face would work on iPhone for, because right now in this example, what I could do is go into this character. We'll take a look at the blueprint structure here in a second. But what I could do is I could bring the face, and if I wanted to, I could just bring the skeletal mesh for the face, or I could even not filter by skeleton and bring in the metahuman directly.
You mean the counter rig? Yeah, look at that.
Am I able to? Yeah, perfect. So yeah, we could still do a lot of work here. The face, take a look at what I did here. I grabbed the metahuman control rig, the body, air quotes body, because it's not really the body control rig, it's the entire metahuman, but I placed it into the face. So I don't have all the facial controls bothering me. And I still have control over the head. So I could do this as an additive layer on top to fix any mocap that came in with the translated Mixamo animation that I don't like, or I could just work on top of this. I could still do the facial animation and then work with fixing. So very, very interesting, extremely powerful. It works. And let's take a look before we go to step 3 into the structure of the blueprint. Pretty similar, but in this case, a couple of things change. First thing that changed, I strongly recommend that we start by bringing the body into a copy of the metahuman blueprint, because that way we save us the hassle of having to bring all the grooms in again and create all the bindings again and all that.
And the LODs and all that.
Exactly. And this works from the get-go, which is really powerful. So the only thing I did in this one is bringing a new skeletal mesh, and I drag the face into the skeletal mesh because it's the parent, it's a child. The face is a child now. And the face has this particular thing. It's being currently attached to the neck. That means that when the neck moves in the Mixamo body, the head will follow. Obviously, sometimes we need to do a little bit of cleaning because the neck may be moving in a way that it's too exaggerated, but I find that it works pretty good. with the neck. And in this particular case, there's only one neck. If you were to have two necks in other characters, try and go for the lower one, the one that's closest to the spine, to the sternum, is going to be way better. That's all I did. Then I believe in the construction script, we also, no, we didn't need to do anything in this case. We don't set a leader pose here because we don't have a leader to follow. The body will now drive everything. Now,
yeah, only leaders can be if they're based on the same structure of a skeleton. Exactly. Like if you don't have leader. The same, the leader node won't work.
Now, it might be a little confusing, but let me do this and let me showcase again the control rig from the Metahuman. Let's bring it, Metahuman control rig. Now you clearly see there's something going on here. And this is the thing, we just added a Metahuman control rig as a layer to the face. Now remember, we're not following the structure of Unreal Engine. So this will only be affecting the invisible, air quotes, body that it's under the face that doesn't exist anymore. Right. But 3 of its controls will be effectively affecting the face. Now you're asking me, well, how do we actually animate the body right now? Well, and that goes to the point 2. Mixamo has a one-click control rig by Josh Tunen. So what we use is said one control rig. So in the body, I will add a layered control rig, clone commando. I have created it already for the commando, and if it doesn't crash, there we go. We have
now it's fixed, right? Because that used to be broken when they added something to the modular control rig, right?
Yes, it was broken a little bit ago, and now it's back online. So if we go into the controls for the global, and I find, the switches in this particular case are not in the global. They are called switches.
Right.
So, no switch. Yes, switch. So let's do right leg. Go into the details. Just wake up Unreal. Give it a second. Come on, Unreal. You can do it. There we go. We woke up. So we go back now to FKs to showcase the easiest of them all. We grab the waist. We go down. It works. The control rig that he created is pretty good. It's exactly the same as a control rig that you would find anywhere else.
And it has reverse, right?
You mean baking completely? Yes.
Yeah. Well, yes. You know, that is the, I don't know why it's weird that they call it bake, but that is the actual reverse solving. When you create the control rig, you have like the forward, which is the animation, and the reverse is the actual baking. Yeah.
So it works. Yes. Let's test it out, but it should. Bake to control rig. And now that we don't have skeleton, be messy. Let's do control commando and ta-da!
Look at that.
It works. And we can just add the old way. We no longer do this anymore. We do it when we need to fix problems. We no longer do this, but we could just bring in an additive layer, and then the additive layer is going to get active, and it works. We lost the FK, obviously, because I haven't switched it on, but it is what it is. It works. Pretty good, pretty straightforward. So this system is not terribly bad to work with. Obviously, you would need a character that has a control rig. If it doesn't have a control rig, unless the animation you brought in is already perfect and you don't need to work with it, it's not going to be super recommended. So like creating a modular rig sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't.
This is like the most universal way, because whatever you can batch through Mixamo and use the auto rigger, this is the way to go. Like everything outside of, in any other DCC, your own characters that you can actually design on your own, if you model it, you can run it through Mixamo auto rigger and you download it and you can apply this, and you're going to have a metahuman face and metahuman hands on it.
This is the only problem. Why I don't like the Mixamo rigger. We don't get a root bone.
You know what?
And that's
that you can add it now, right? You can add a root bone. It works. You're gonna be it's a double-edged sword, because if you add it, it's gonna be a little bit more compatible with everything retarget wise inside Unreal Engine. But you lose every animation that you can download from Mixamo. which makes it like very bad. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I tried it honestly, creating the root. It just goes very insane in here. It doesn't let you create a parent. It just lets you create a child.
Yeah.
I decided to
that-
just let it ride and be what it is.
Yeah,
And then I went into step 3, and this is the most
Here we go.
complex and the most dangerous one. No skeleton. A static mesh. We
Look
have
at that.
nothing, no skeleton at all. So just a static mesh. So how do we do this? Well, we need to go into Blender and we need to create a skinning process. Now, give me 1 second, see if I can punch Blender in. Let's go. We're going to open Blender and I'll very quickly showcase the process because it's super simple. Metahuman.
You need to
body
pose
size.
it a little bit so it actually matches the,
Yes.
however the actual rope was in the pose that the rope was created.
Yes.
Yeah, that might be
So-
the only weird thing.
I cheated here, obviously, because we have a row that's already posed for UE5.
Right.
If you don't have something like this, you will need to select controls and start doing some bending and trying to make it fit into the A position of the metahuman in this case. So the metahuman, we all know that it is. Oh, if we don't crash, the metahuman is on an A pose. The neck decided to go a little wild there. There we go. The metahuman is on an A pose, so we firstly need our static mesh to be on the same A pose. Now, once we have that, I'm gonna do this very quickly. I'm not gonna do the process. I'm just gonna showcase what I did. It's super simple. You bring in the metahuman body preview. So if we turn off our rope here, so we can see what we're doing. We bring in the metahuman body preview, which at the same time brings in its own skeleton structure. So if we go for the root here and we go for the pose, you can simply grab any of these.
And that one
This
is
is the same
available
skeleton.
in the folder in the metahuman folder, in the common, right?
Yes, we can go here and very quickly either type for preview, which will bring in just both the head and the body. The one thing I couldn't do is find a way of getting these. I think now it's coming to my mind how to make. No, I don't know how to
Combine
merge
them?
these two in one skeleton. That is the one thing I couldn't make. I didn't try that hard, but the problem was when I just used this one, we can see if we bring it into Blender and we take a look here and we don't have the face because the face, I brought it in to try and get it to work, but it was just simply not working. It wouldn't want me to make it work. So why are we not? Oh, we are not in object mode. That's the problem. I need you gone. And human LOD4, are you inside here? All right, tell you what, you can go. There we go. So when we bring the body, we have this. The issue with this is that we don't have skinning for any of these 3 bones. We don't have neck 1, neck 2, or head. That means that in particular robes or any kind of asset that we're trying to skin, this section here did not get skinned because the clavicles did not touch the weight painting up here.
Right.
So the one thing you need to do manually is paint this yourself. Now, the process comes in as the preview skeletal mesh. Then we bring in our guy here, which is the clothing. It's going to come outside. It's not going to be inside the structure of the root. And the only thing we need to do, or the simplest thing we need to do, is apply 2 modifiers. Modifier number 1 is a data transfer, catching the source, which is going to be the body, the mesh, not the root, not the skeleton. We will do a replace because it will add everything. We need to turn on vertex data and vertex groups. And leaving it at nearest vertex so far has not disappointed. And what this does is literally transferring the weights from this mesh into this mesh for every single bone. So if we now, once we've applied this modifier, not even applied, it's still online, so it's not doing anything right now. Once we hit generate data layers, it will create all of these, which are literally the weight paint layers. Exactly. So if I were to now finish this up is creating another modifier, which is an armature, and this armature will, yes, go for our root as its object. And the final step you need to do is simply drag the cloth, which is going to be outside here of the structure, and hovering it over the root, we are going to click Shift to do the parenting, and that's it. I'm not going to do it because it's already parented. And that means that if I now go into the root skeleton and switch to pose, if I click on this guy here, lo and behold, we have skinning in the entire structure of the metahuman slash the new cloth. Now, problems like this, we can either fix here in Blender or knowingly not care because this will be simulated,
Exactly.
thus detaching itself from the skinning. We can set how much it will be detaching itself from the skinning, but I tested the basic one and it literally doesn't get pulled back. It's just not noticeable. This breaking point is not noticeable. But still, if we wanted it to be fixed, I found that painting weights here in Blender is massively better than doing it in Unreal. Unreal is so far behind. How do we do it? Well, we need to first and foremost switch to object mode. We are going to select our skeleton, our new skeleton, shift click, selecting our mesh, thus letting us now switch to weight painting. And now that we are in weight painting, if we control click, I believe they change it to control shift click, we can now switch to the bones and we can see the bones influences. That means that now we could, for example, this would be something that we probably want to fix or maybe try it and see how it goes. But that means that now we can go into neck 1, which I did already. And in this case, it was a rough test. So I painted all this. And then neck 2 probably needs some influence over that too. Neck 1 is at max, right? How do we paint? Super simple. Control Shift click in one of the bones. Oops. Shift click. And then left click will do painting. And I believe Control left click will do erasing. Obviously, up here we have all the tools. Up to the left, we have more tools to paint left, right, and center. This is much better than doing it in Unreal. Unreal is still super far behind this. So I strongly recommend that any fixes on the weight painting that you need to do, you come into Blender and what this is telling is the engine is essentially neck 1 will totally control this red part and will influence some part of this down here. If I wanted to have it lower, instead of strength 1, I can switch to strength 0.5 and then maybe having something like that might be better. This is a little bit of test. There's no magic sauce. It's a little bit of test. My testing was bringing in the head and trying to translate just the head data layers here, right, because you can, when you're doing the translation, you can tell it to just do a vertex group. It didn't work. Just didn't like it. I don't know if it was me or whatever, but it didn't work. So I decided to just literally paint just this section, super easy to paint. And that's that. Now, once we are done with doing all of this great stuff, we simply, once again, select the bones, select the mesh, and export this as an FBX.
And now it will come into Unreal Engine as a skeletal mesh.
Yes, this is where I had different situations. Because when I brought it in for the first time as a skeletal mesh, and I selected in the import the metahuman skeleton as its skeleton, we are literally using the metahuman skeleton with the same naming convention. It did not take. I was getting validation errors saying that the metahuman skeleton, or that this mesh actually, has a non-compatible skeleton attached to it, which is nonsense because this is the metahuman skeleton. Quite literally, nothing is changed. I checked this 17 times. It is the exact same one. Blender did not add any naming conventions here or anything like that. So it might be that I am exporting it in an incorrect way or something like that.
What about the leaf bones? The
leaf bones were deleted.
At the tip.
Yes. I set it to none. So no leaf bones on that one.
All right.
That could have been the problem. So thankfully, asset details, compatibility with Metahuman, and in this case, Echo, because I had her in this project. And this works like an absolute charm. And there's nothing else, well, nothing else I say, right? As I talked for 20 minutes about this process. But this works perfectly fine. It actually works the exact same way any other works. Obviously, the one thing that we don't have, because we never had to begin with, was the simulation. So we can either stop. Yeah, we're doing great in time. I am going to go ahead and talk about simulation the old way for a second here. And then we are going to go into the new way, which is that guy back there in the corner. So this guy, we're going to do it with this guy, which is fairly simpler in regards to that one. This guy here has what we call a simulation on the cloth. So if we go ahead and open the robe, and we take a look at the bones at the structure here on the robe, if we go here to activate cloth painting, we are going to see on the left-hand side, in this particular project or asset pack, for whatever reason, it's split up like this. I never understood how they did this or what's the point. And the first one, if you click on it, it actually crashes the engine. So I will not click on the first one. But this one and this one, I think this one is a proxy or whatever. I don't know how they did this. It's a separate asset. It might be a different LOD. I am not sure. I didn't ask because it's unnecessarily complex. It's just a simple robe. Probably for optimization purposes, it's great. But this guy has this paint. And this is pretty similar to what we just did in Blender. It is essentially saying white will simulate, black or gray will not, and then pink is 0 value. So this one has it. I don't want to play too much with it because it's going to break. I know it already. Let's go ahead and do it in the one that does not. So once we select a skeletal mesh that does not have any clothing data, we can clearly see here that we have no clothing data. The process goes like this. We need to select which, in this particular case, this asset is split off in something called sections. Now, sections are like pieces of the LOD, which are different sections will LOD differently. Do you know about this, Gabe? I honestly, it brought me more headaches than solutions.
Yeah. I don't know. I know that as soon as you import a skeletal mesh, the same way as an static mesh, you can actually set the LODs to be automatic. So as soon as you import, LODs are going to be created. Now, why it actually set it up this way, I have no idea. Like maybe it had like some sort of vertex information that actually lead it into creating all the different sections and all that. That's the only thing that comes to my mind that would actually have like the backwards information of knowing, that it needs to create LODs in some particular way.
Yeah. So here's the catch with these little guys here that we can't just right click and disable because it breaks everything. Here's the catch. If I were to select this guy down here and I would say create cloth from section, and we're going to call this bottom. And we're going to set here's the catch. We don't have a physics asset for this guy.
Yeah.
So we would need to create one because I don't think, I haven't tried this. Let's see if this works. Or it crashes my engine. Okay, so far so good. We are going to select this, activate cloth painting. We're going to be very blunt with this. We're just simply going to do this. Here's the catch with doing that. What was that? Yes, everything simulated because I want to be very, very direct with the problem. I am going to now right click. Nothing happened because we have not yet applicated the clothing data. So let's apply it. Applicated is not a word. Apply is a word. So let's fix that little problem that we had there, which means that everything is simulating. It's being affected by gravity. It's just falling. So what we'll do here is paint value. We'll set it to 0, and we will make. This is all nightmarish. That's why painting in Blender is so much better because this is terrible. These menus are terrible. So we're going to do this very quickly. We're not going to worry too much. Something like this. Now if we deactivate, it sticks. Let's test our physics. Oh, look at that. It works.
That's it.
The physics asset works. Now here's the catch. These guys are separated. that means that the clothing information of this one does not match this one.
Right.
Meaning that this cut that we see here, this cut that we see here in the middle, it's going to stop the simulation and start the other one. It looks horrible. It looks as if they were separated, as if they were two different meshes, which they are not. They are only separated due to this demons of hell that someone created. The only way I found to delete these little guys here is to delete all these slots for materials.
All the material slots.
And then re-add them manually. It's insane. Particularly in this object, you don't need more than one slot. This is, I don't know why they did this. Probably to split it off into sections, actually.
Right, exactly.
But these are all the same material, right? So in this particular case, you don't need it. So if you break it up in this, if you have this sort of situation, if you break the material assets, slots, you are free to go. Now, second problem. Okay, let's delete the slots. Let's go into the editing tools. Let's go into edit attributes, as we know how to do. And we have this problem. The skeletal mesh editing tools do not have a way of deleting material slots.
Right.
That means that we need to go all the way back to our static mesh and delete the slots in our static mesh, so we don't get these demons of hell down here.
Right, LODs for each material.
Exactly. So why would you delete this? Well, because it's screwing up with our simulation. It's stopping our simulation from going from section 1 to section 2. Now, if they would have been a little bit more concerned about that, you would not have that issue if they would have contained these two sections into one. For whatever reason, they decided to cut it there and not at the waist, which would have been much, much better. At the same time, by doing that, they force themselves to doing something like this, because they do have it done on their own. If I go here to their actual asset that came in with the pack, this is still set up into different sections. And if I go into my clothing here, let's do this so we can see a bit better.
So is the same material apply on all slots?
Yes.
Makes no sense.
And if I enable cloth paint, look at this. They did this in a way that somehow it fits. I am scared to click on this one because I know it's going to crash on Unreal.
Don't click it.
But they did it in a way that this actually fits perfectly and it works. I don't know how. I don't know why, but they did it. Or maybe just stop simulating there. I don't know. But the thing is, it works. Let's deactivate and let's test with this bone here.
So it may be something like really optimized for games or something like that.
No, it stops. It's fine. So they did just simulation at the bottom, which I wouldn't want to do. I would want this to be simulating too. I feel like it's too loose not to be simulating up there. Also, we get this stretching if we don't simulate, right? So I don't like what they did. I don't like it at all. So second option, we get that. We go to the skin outside of Unreal. We do all of that cool stuff. Skinning outside of Unreal in Blender is not only for this. I could very well grab the Mixamo to post this as an A pose and then bring it into Blender and do the same skin process, skin weight transfer. I could do the same exact thing instead of using it the Mixamo one. And that would help me not doing retargeting, and that would help me do using the control rig for everything rather than just the body and then the face needs another rig. So that's option 3. And then we have this little mischievous guy at the far end, which is, as you can see, fully simulated with a little problem that we're going to talk about here in a second. And this is the final iteration of today's talk. This is Chaos Cloth Asset. This is intended specifically for clothing. It comes out from a static mesh too, funnily enough.
Oh, really?
It's not very complex. Yes, I'll show you and it's going to blow your mind. Creates good looking simulations, and we can add wind, which I couldn't find on this guy. In this guy, we can add wind. Self-collisions suck, as we saw a second ago. They suck. Obviously, if you are smart enough, what you do is you come in and you delete the faces.
Yes, you should.
The brown faces. You are meticulous and you do a good job of preparing your assets instead of just going in and see it if it works. I would just simply either delete the faces, or if you want, you could select the faces and apply a different material, an invisible material, so you don't have this issue anymore. So in this particular case, we have cloth on top of cloth. It's obvious that we're going to have this issue, right?
Yeah.
Some pieces of clothing, like this one back here, do not have that issue. They're not cloth on top of cloth, so we won't have that issue. But let me show you what this beauty is, because it's actually outstanding. Let's go to Chaos Cloth, and let's say we have our static mesh here.
First,
yes.
do you need to actually enable like a plugin or something?
Yes.
Or does it count already?
Of course, we do need to enable Asset Editor and Cloth, Chaos Cloth Asset. We do need to enable these two guys here.
All right.
This one is enabled by default. These ones are not.
All right.
So once we've done that, we have this guy here as a static mesh, because it eats a static mesh to start. And we simply go and right-click anywhere in the empty, and we go for cloth, and we have this new asset here, which is called a cloth asset. As soon as we create that, I'm going to show the original, and then we're going to talk about what I did in mine. So when I call this test, it's going to create its own data flow asset. I haven't touched any of this. It just does what it does. And I'm going to go in here. So from the get-go, we do get this, which is slightly overwhelming. Exactly. You get that reaction, right? It's slightly overwhelming. Now, we can work with this, or we can make a simpler version, which deals with only one node. Now, I didn't do a simpler version here. I thought I did, but I didn't. So let's run through this. Let's talk about all these nodes, and then we'll do the simpler version, which is just one. Instead of all this, one node. I'll show it right now. So what these are doing from left to right, it's super fun. So first node that we get actually from the default is a USD import. If we were working in Marvelous Designer or something like that, we would USD import. We're not doing that. We're going to do a static mesh. So static mesh brings our cloth that we were using a second ago. And from the get-go, we're getting these. These are the UVs. Numero dos, transform positions. If you go into our 3D simulation, I needed to do this one because on node 3, when I brought in my Metahuman body, my transform position of the cloak, it was super high up. So I needed to use the transform position to move it down a little bit. So it fit in my Metahuman body. It was super high up, so I moved it down a little bit so it would fit the hand so it wasn't clipping. Now, transfer skin weights is literally doing automatically what I did in Blender. It's transferring the skin weights from these. Yes. Automatically transferring from this into my cloth. Then we have weight map.
Where did you assign the Metahuman skeleton? In that one?
Right here on the source.
Oh, look at that.
In this transfer skin weights.
And what about the actual neck issue? Because these
the neck is not. The neck is something that
has the bones for the neck, but it doesn't have any weight to it.
Yes, it will not do anything.
All right.
So what it does is it will follow whatever is closest, essentially.
I get it.
So
it will pair it to the clavicle or something like that.
This one is working correctly. And if we go here, I think I may have fixed it in Unreal itself. So we go for a Metahuman control rig on an additive layer, and we move the head. The neck is not moving, as you can see. Oh boy.
All right.
If we move neck 2, nothing is happening. But if we move neck 1, I believe I fixed. No. So it doesn't do anything. So that's something that we need to do manually. All right. Because we do not have a full body Metahuman. Now, if we were able to create a full body.
That's weird. We used to have a full body
we did.
Metahuman, and now it's lost.
Yep. Now it's gone in the ether. So we did node 1, which is importing the mesh. Node 2, moving it down a little bit because transfer weights needs it to be moved down. Transfer weights, literally bring it in and just hit accept down here. That's all it's going to do. And then we have node number 4, which is the weight map max distance, or essentially painting. Now we can paint here, and this is a problem that the Chaos Cloth has. Right now, my brush is onto 0.25 size, which means I would need to go to 0.01 to be able to paint something. But if we switch to 3D view, that 0.01 is now literally 8.0.
All right.
So you would want to go here. But this is easier to work. Yes, 100%. So in here, we paint black or white, and then we can use the smooth instead of the paint. This one also has fill, polylaser, and gradient. Gradient doesn't really work that well. Just so you know, it exists. Try it here if we want. Let's see.
And this one doesn't have the nonsense with the LODs, with the different material slots, right?
It doesn't do any of that. No.
Cool.
It's just one mesh. So in the wave map, we get this. This is all we get. Then we have this node, which you can or can't use. It's not mandatory. This is max distance. How far the simulation is going to go from its skinned version, essentially.
Right.
So if we simply...
like the goal.
Yeah, pretty much. So if in the wave map distance, we simply name it, output name, and then connect it to this node, pretty much everything is done. And what we can do is torque this value, the max, or the high, I should say, which is how far the white vertices, painted vertices, are going to go related to the actual simulation. And then we come to all of these guys, which are super complex and separated, or we can do default simulation config. If we wire this here, and we wire this here, and it's going to start screaming its brain offs because we didn't connect it before. The simulation default needs to be connected before any other simulation nodes.
Right.
It needs to be first in line. So once we've done that, we're not going to get the same exact result, obviously. But now we get this. Now in this, we are doing the preview here, preview scene. We brought the metahuman body, and we're bringing in the echo walk animation. This is now superseding, because these ones are not wired at all. None of these are wired now. So the node that's down there, which is simulation default config, comes in with mass properties, mass properties. It comes in with edge and bending, and stretch. It comes in with collision properties, long range attachment. It comes in with collision, which we have up there at the beginning. Environmental, we have dampening, which is right here.
Maybe it's like a modularity thing.
And then we have animation properties, simulation, which is iteration. The higher this one goes, the better quality we're going to get. And what we don't have, I think we do have, is velocity. So no, we don't have this guy, which is aerodynamics. That is the only one we don't have, which is wind.
You can daisy chain that after the other one?
Of course. So what we can do now is tell my max distance config to wire itself into aerodynamics, and we can wire the aerodynamics with self collisions. And now we could do things like, for example, wind space. We don't have any wind velocity. Let's do -5. And with this button here, we hard reset the simulation. With this button here, we soft reset. And with this one, we stop the sim. So -5 didn't seem to be doing much. Let's go wild. Let's do -50.
Yeah, do the Marilyn Monroe.
So -10 and something like this. We could do Marilyn Monroe. That would be -10 in the X, in the Z axis. No, +10. We go up. +50. And we break. So +20 and we hard reset. No, it's still too much. You can't handle it. +10, I think, would do thing. Yeah, something like that. It's not great. Obviously, remember that as we're looking at this here, we are not looking at the full material. So we are seeing through it. The full material is two-sided, so we're not going to see all these holes. It's not that the mesh is breaking. It's that we're seeing holes because we don't have the double material. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. Can you imagine this? You can imagine this on a cloak, that you can have a character walking and then put some aerodynamics on the cloak behind it. Right. Super, super good. Now, the values that I touch on the most, essentially, obviously, edge stiffness will control the edges of the sim, how stiff they are. If you let them loose a lot, they're just going to break a lot. So they by default, this is doing a great job. What you would want to touch the most is collision thickness, to have it be working and not intersecting itself with the collision of the asset, because, and here's, we haven't finished, so I'm not going to talk about this yet. So we know that we can go super modular and super complex, or simple default config and have everything here. These ones do have more control over everything, and they are separated, and you can probably affect them in separate ways that you can't with this one. So just so you know, the complex way is the default. It even explains here a little bit of what they do. Yeah, then we did aerodynamics for wind.
Iterate a little bit with those because they're modular, so you can have like several copies, and you can test one just by connecting and disconnecting. So it will give you like a best developer approach.
Yeah, exactly. More control, more coding control too. Then we finally have self-collision spheres, which we can add. This one doesn't do anything at all. I tested it. The idea for this is so it creates spheres around the cloth itself. It's not doing anything. It's currently at 20, at 10. If I set it to 20 and hard reset this, it doesn't do anything at all. I would imagine it's doing self-collision with the cloth itself. It's not. So I may need to read a bit more on what this does, but it's literally not doing much. So leave it at 0 or don't use it because it consumes simulation. So this is the magic. The set physics asset. We brought in the weight painting. We set the skin, and then we did the simulation, and now we are applying the weight physics asset. Obviously, it needs one to collide with, and it's doing it by itself. So no skinning, no creating a skeleton for it, not doing any of that. Literally does the thing for yourself. And then we have simulation collision config, which is, this is obvious, this is the size of the colliders. A simulation solver, which we don't need if we're using this guy here. Simulation solver is all the way at the bottom. Simulation solver is going to do higher quality, pretty much. If we connect it after, it's going to supersede, and we can't connect it before because we can't. The engine is going to scream. And then the final one is cloth asset terminal, and that's it. It spits out the cloth. What is this guy spitting out? Oh, one more thing I wanted to touch on, which is one of the things that we may be working with the most. How do we make it less flowy? That's called dampening, or damping, it's actually. So damping coefficient right now is at 0.1. If I set it to 1, very heavy cloth. It feels like it's in space, pretty much. So that's for very heavy leather. You would go 0.5. Something like that looks awesome. If you go into the content examples map from Unreal Engine and go into the cloth section, which does not use this, it uses the old version, there's a panel where it shows you a whole bunch of cloth, and in the bottom, in text at the floor right next to it, there's a lot of information about heavy leather, dampening coefficient 0.5, cotton, dampening coefficient, blah, 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 and it explains all of it. So now that we're done with this, I'm going to set this back to 0.1 because it looks better. We're going to save this guy. And remember, we could do the complex one or we could do the simple one. This is the simple one we did here. It's just rewiring and wiring things. It's awesome. And now that we did that, and we have this guy here, how do we add it to our character? Well, again, this is another blueprint. This is another copy of the Metahuman blueprint. And as we go into the viewport to have a better visibility. And the one thing we need to add is a cloth
chaos component.
Component.
Beautiful.
Set it to be a children of the body. So where the body goes, the cloth follows. No construction script, nothing. No event graph, nothing, because this is not a skeletal mesh. This is a cloth asset. It's completely different. You have all the values down here if you want to stop simulation because you're working on your progress on your project and you need to stop this. Blend weight, it blends between the skin and the simulated pose. So if your simulation is going too wild, you could even set it to something lower. And this works like an absolute charm. This was skinned it created the physics asset. It did everything for the static mesh. We started with a static mesh.
Dude, what
And
if you these open so much possibilities, because what if you grab that Mixamo character that you have there?
exactly.
No, the one that you brought to Mixamo to do the rigging, the auto rig and all that. You can actually create a static mesh out of that skeletal
Yes.
mesh. And
Yes.
you
And
know,
skin
because
it
it's an actual
to the
armor.
metahuman.
Yeah, because it's an actual
Yes.
armor, you won't use any simulation at all. But
Yep.
what you could do is actually skin it to an actual metahuman, just like that.
Yes. Let's do it right now. Let's test it out.
That is wild.
Clone Commando. Now, it would be ideal if I could. Let's see if I can do a preview scene. I would love to get the metahuman here.
Yeah,
so
to
I
pose
could
it.
find the pose exactly, because number one, let's do snapping. Let's eyeball it. Let's eyeball it, see what happens. So, please, Unreal. Hello, snapping. Hello. Oh, snapping right here. So let's eyeball it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 40 degrees. Let's say it's that. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 40 and 40. That's too much.
There.
It's
It
too
doesn't need to
wide.
be perfect. We just
I'll do one more. 50 and 40. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and let's do
4.
1, 2, 3, 4. The one thing it's not gonna match is these guys here.
Yeah.
These ones are just gonna break. Mixamo did its best and it did this trash. So I don't care, obviously. If I want to go better, I need to go better. And then Mixamo did this with the feet. So since we're here, let's just go and fix this, guys. Doesn't hurt. Fix it and try and match roughly. We're not gonna worry too much about how this looks right now. We'll see what happens. We're just testing this out. See if Mr. Chaos Cloth can actually create a clothing static mesh. So let's go from a piece of armor. So we're gonna call this SM clone commando. It's cone commando, not clone. There we go, clone commando. We're gonna save this, and now we're gonna go nuts. We're gonna first close sequencer so Unreal is not thinking about animations. We're going to go up here and we are going to go ahead and go into our content, asset folders, clothing, SKM, chaos cloth, and we're going to be organized. We're going to move this here to our chaos cloth static meshes, and let's go wild. Let's see what happens. So cloth asset, CA, clone commando armor, double click on it. Let's get rid of all of these guys here because we don't need any of
simulation.
this. Obviously, the engine is going to go, I don't understand what you want. Let's see if without even weight maps this works. Let's see if any of that is not needed. So simulation solver, we don't want it. Simulation collision, we don't want it. We do want a physics asset. And we are going to create a terminal here.
And that, even that is, a luxury. Because, yeah, you
we don't need a physics.
You want to ragdoll it or something like that?
You're right. We don't need it. You're 100% right. Let's go super mega archy bare bones.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
Let's auto rig it. The Unreal style.
Oops. Yeah, auto rigging Unreal style. Static mesh import. We are going to bring it here.
So you just remove the Alembic one.
Yes, the USD. Clone commando. Oh, uh-oh.
You can do it.
I think we are gone.
You can do it.
I think we are gone. Oh, it survived.
It's there. That thing has
survived.
use.
It looks like it did for whatever reason. Then we're here. Here we are going to bring
the Metahuman.
Our body preview Metahuman. Oh, we missed by a mile. Would you look at that? Well, the problem is the scale too. Like not scaled properly. The clone is so much bigger.
No, I mean you can actually create a socket and bring in the actual Metahuman, and you can actually pose it really well. So what would it do? What would it do? Will it move?
Let's
At least
test it with
the
the
legs.
legs anyway. So we're gonna accept. The groin is kind of this. Oh,
I knew it. I
It's
knew
gone.
it. You know what? I'm thinking Paragon characters. Right?
well, there's no need at that point because Paragon characters are UE4, and you can switch them to UE5 instantly. They are skeletons from UE5.
Are you sure? Like, how would
Yes.
you mean
set
to
them. You
retarget
set
them
compatibility.
with animations and
No,
having like the, because what I want
not
is to
anymore.
actually have like the not anymore, you say? Did they change them?
Not anymore. No. You can do this ridiculous thing from anything from UE4 to UE5. You can do this absolute beauty of ridiculousness. Let me go back into Unreal. Let me control it. There we go. If we go and grab any animation sequence, any of these is a Paragon character. Let's use that as a reference. Let's say any of these is a Paragon character. We can right click on it and replace skeleton and choose UE5, and it does the thing. It uses the animation with a UE5 skeleton.
Oh, really?
With skeletal mesh that was in that animation.
So the actual.
I saw it like an hour ago. It's insane.
Oh my God, that is.
If you want, we can try. We're gonna run a little long.
That means no. We can save it. We can save it for next week. That would be like the experiment for next week, because there are a couple, of biped characters that are really good. The actual materials and even the faces of those characters are really, really good.
In fact, yes, 100%. What I'm gonna do is.
Oh my God! Wait, what if you do a face and you retarget the face? So not retarget, but like auto rig the face, because that would be like an amazing thing. If you provided that the face actually matches a little bit the face of a metahuman.
It's not gonna work because the bones for the metahuman face do not control vertices. They control blend shapes.
You sure about that?
Yes. 100%. We can test it. I have a metahuman right here.
I know that the face of the metahuman actually have morph target only because of the live link, the face live link, the face AR. That's the only reason why they actually have it. But once you record it, it will actually pass the information to the bones. So you're actually animating bones with the control rig. You actually animate bones from the face of a metahuman. But we can test it next time for sure.
Okay.
But that would be like an amazing thing.
You think these are skinned instead of just morph targets?
Yeah. That is an actual scheme. Like there, it looks very wacky and wild. Because
I'm trying to find one that is not.
Whomever designed the bone shapes in Blender, it has a place in hell. I know it for sure. Yeah, that dude is condemned to hell. Like those things are always pointing to the wrong, to the wrong direction. But no. We can this open up like a whole new way of thinking about those characters. Instead of doing any sort of retargeting or anything, you can actually the bodies, you tell me that is an issue now anymore, but the faces, I want to see if the faces actually work.
I want to see if this moves, but I really can't with all this in the way. It doesn't look like it is doing anything. Cheek outer. It doesn't look like it is actually. Oh no, that's the bone. I don't think the skin is moving at all. So I don't think these are skin. I think the only ones that are skinned are the neck. The neck too. And the head. Although, did I lose you?
No, I'm here. I'm thinking.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Although this gives me the idea that something is skinned here because it's not going with it. So something at some point is being skinned.
I
To
think they
what?
are skinned.
Don't know.
I don't know why I think they are skinned.
None of these do anything. These are all the ear controls, and they don't do anything. Now, this doesn't mean that this guy here doesn't have. We switch object mode. We go here and we go here. See, it's not skinned. These are the only 3 vertex groups it has. Everything else is being run by shape keys, which are morph targets, which I don't know where they live in shape keys. Down here. These are the shape keys. These are the blends.
Yeah. I know. I know that the blends are there because
yes.
they at the beginning, before actual metahuman animators, the only way that they could move the face was with blend shapes, and they had to actually have the same amount of blend shapes that closed black box of the face AR is, right? Because that thing is controlled by Apple, like it's their product. But and that's why they need to have actually morph targets. And oh my god, no, it's good.
That was that. It doesn't work. I will now stop the streaming, so we should go back to our faces.
All right, so this thing lost.
It doesn't want to work. That was the two things that I couldn't figure out yet, which is how to mix the head of the metahuman with the body to have one mesh, which would save us of having to skinning manually neck, and head. And the other thing I haven't figured out yet is if I don't do that, if I can have any sort of neck movement or anything like that. But so far, no luck.
I think that if you download the Metahuman from Quixel, not from Fab. No, Metahumans are not in Fab, so that's nonsense. Mm-hmm. But from Quixel, from the Quixel side, you can download the
as
Metahuman,
an FBX,
and that one comes in one piece.
Ooh, that would be
it's like a version of the Metahumans that is the one that they actually use in Maya and stuff like that.
That would be awesome if I can. I'll try that. Let me annotate that. Download Metahuman directly as an FBX.
Yeah, go to Quixel Bridge in your browser, and you are going to go to Megascans, I think so, and that will open the side version of the bridge, and then you have Metahumans, and those Metahumans you can download them for UE4 or UE5.
Yes.
And you need to sign in to actually download them. Sign in with Epic Games. Come on.
We're not seeing your screen. I don't know if you want to share it.
Oh no, I'm just testing. I could do this. That's it. Maybe later, because I'm gonna have to. Yeah,
it's
this
time.
Boot me out. Like Fab will boot me out like every 5 minutes. If I stop using my computer for 5 minutes, Fab will say like.
I hate Fab.
It's like dealing with, an Alzheimer software.
Yeah, I hate it. I don't like it at all.
All right, here we go.
But it is what it is.
If I do this, here we are. Yeah, I want to stay here, Fab, believe me. All right, so here it is. You can download it. And it says it's not compatible with the UAsset version of this. I don't want the UAsset version. What are you doing? Don't go. Go back to Metahumans. That's it. And let's go with this dude. And here it is. So here you can actually download the FBX version. And you can pick and choose which LOD and all that. And what maps are you downloading and everything. These should actually work. If you hit download, the UAsset version of this Metahuman is not compatible with UE4. You can download it from, Yeah, like
Oh,
it's all right. So I don't want to contact
no,
support. I
contact
want
support.
you to download this stupid
Bridge
thing.
for UE5. If you click on Bridge for UE5, where does it send you?
Bridge for UE5?
Yeah, it had like a button right there. Metahumans right there. If you switch the U asset down there,
Where's
maybe
that?
it says something. Right under FBX, it says U asset. Can you switch that to anything
Where does it say?
in the settings? Right
Oh,
there in
you
the
mean
download,
here?
it says switch.
All right.
Yeah,
Oh, all right. So you can actually choose not to download the U asset, just the source asset. So the source.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Give me just a second. All right. Sorry about that. There is a strange sound in the kitchen. All right.
Strange sound.
Yeah, that like the washing machine is like convulsion.
Uh oh.
All right. So here you choose the source asset, and that should do it. So if I go back and I hit download, now you get the FBX version of the Metahuman, and this one comes, I think, in a onesie. So it's like the head and the body in one go. I don't know why I think it's like that. So test it and see if that actually works.
I hope, because I would save a lot of time without problems. That's a shame that it didn't want to do the whatchamacallit, the clone armor. I was going to try that and see if it worked, but it just didn't want to do it. We would just have to go into Mr. Blender and do it ourselves manually.
Yeah. All right, dude. So that does it. That was
That does
an
it.
incredible master class of chaos cloth and normal cloth and metahuman customization. That was an amazing class. Thank you so much,
It was
Franco.
fun. Thank you.
All right. So
Always.
that does it. That does it for this week live stream. We're gonna keep doing them, every Wednesday. We might want to change the date or the time or something because so far we have like a very low attendance, but that's okay. We're gonna be figuring out a good time where we can fit, a much desirable, schedule for everybody. All right. Thank you so much, Franco, for everything that you
Yeah. A
share
pleasure
with
as
us
always.
today. And with all of you, I will check you the next time. Thank you so much for coming. And I'm going to be stopping the stream in 3, 2, 1. Take care. Love you all. Bye bye.